That is what things are supposed to look like. That is what the expectation should be. And that is the Nebraska we should see play for the rest of this season. You have a quarterback who comes out, he executes, his receivers make plays on the ball, the defense shows up just like we expect they would. And Nebraska beats down teams who they're supposed to so the backups can get in, get the experience they need. And the Nebraska team can go on to have an exceptional season that we expect and hope they would have. I use that word expect so many times in this opener because I want you to understand there are expectations and there are standards with a Matt Rule program and a University of Nebraska program that's been so down bad, we'll call it, lately. Lately as in the last 10 years. But we need to raise the bar now, right? They have the pieces, they have the coaching staff, and this is what we want it to and what it should look like when you're spending the kind of money and when you've got the kind of coaching staff that they have in place. And now, obviously, the players. There are so many things we can touch on here, but I just want to start off with Dylan Raiola. Did anyone see that coming? I think every Nebraska fan did, unless you were a guy who in your own head was like, I'm so afraid to get excited about anything. I'm so afraid to believe in something because every time I've believed in the past, I was shut down and I was proven wrong and embarrassed by it. The time has finally come. There is someone in position who can thrive at his job and who can help Nebraska to become the team they're meant to be. So that's just my opening thought. I'm so excited to know that Dylan Raiola is all that he's cracked up to be. He's all that we've hyped him up to be. And this Nebraska team looks like they can compete, not only win games that they're supposed to win, but compete in games they're not supposed to, right? I'm not going to jump out on a limb and say they have a chance against Ohio State yet. This is way too early for any of that. But after watching what they did today, it gets you excited because every single game they play this year, you're going to believe they have a chance. That's what makes college football fun because anytime you watch your team play and they can go and beat one of the big dogs or one of the teams they're not supposed to, it's exciting. The upsets are fun to watch. So thank you all for being here. It's exciting, most importantly, because I don't have to complain. I don't have to rant. I'm not here in a negative capacity. I'm not here in a venting voice. I'm here to celebrate. I'm here to talk about the good. There were the moments of doubt, not doubt, but there were the moments where you thought, is Nebraska going back to their old ways? A few penalties there were back-to-back penalties on, it wasn't the opening drive. But it was pretty early on there that put him in a 2nd and 30 situation. And you were like, God, are they going to do the same type of thing? And then even Dante Dowdell getting towards, I think he was around the 5-yard line, about to punch it into the end zone, fumbles the ball. And you're like, really? You've got the penalties, you've got the fumble. Then Malcolm Hartzog gets burned in a one-on-one situation. Like, is this some of the old Nebraska coming through? But that's bound to happen. It's the first game. There are going to be kinks they've got to work out. The beauty is they had replacements for all of those guys. If Dowdell wasn't living up to it, then they had 3 other running backs to go to, and we saw all of the running backs exceed. Let me pull it up here really quick just to share some of the stats because this was exciting for me to see. You had 3 running backs all run for over 50 yards. 4 running backs, including Gabe Irvin, because Gabe had 2 touchdowns, and he looked like a powerful runner. The similar Gabe Irvin that we know from back in the day before he had his injuries. So he looks to be back in full form, and it just makes you think, wow, if Nebraska's got this kind of depth, and if there are going to be mistakes that happen here and there, they can go onto the bench and make sure that they've got guys who can win games for them. So shout out to that running back room. I was pleasantly surprised by Dante Dowdell. He wasn't on my radar. I'm going to be honest with you. I heard it when he first came into Nebraska, it was like, maybe there's a chance that he could earn the starting job or that he'll at least earn valuable playing time. And then it was like, well, nope, Dowdell's got a learning curve. He's not going to be ready to go this year. Today, it looked like he was the number 1 running back. I mean, he ran 8 times for 55 yards and a touchdown to start the day off. Then he had the fumble, obviously, but man, he looked freaking good. Emmett Johnson had some big moments. Ramir Johnson had some big runs. Like, that dude's quick. And then obviously Gabe. So, man, shout out the running back room. But Dylan did his thing. I want to get to the super chats really quick. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. I'll always respond to those as we go through the show. Ardwin says, felt good to convert on 2nd and 30. At what point last year did you feel confident in converting on 2nd and 30? Shit. At what point 2 years ago or 3 years ago did you feel confident in that? You could make an argument that Casey Thompson and Trey Palmer, that little duo, could figure some things out, but I felt really good about our odds today. And it wasn't even like we were deep into the game where I had a lot of proven film on Dylan to react to. It was just like, man, I just feel the vibe. Feels like the receivers are going out here. They're making plays on the ball. Obviously, Isaiah Nayor had a couple. I think it was 1 drop, maybe 2 in the first half. He had his 2nd drop in the first half, actually. But it wasn't a bad one. He had 2 guys on him. he came around. He got his touchdown later on. Banks had his touchdown in the one-on-one situation. Dylan put it in the perfect spot, kind of up in the corner where nobody could get to it except for him. It was awesome to watch a quarterback work with his receivers and be able to convert on big plays, be able to have explosive plays, because Nebraska just hasn't been a team who can execute on that. So, man, it's an exciting time to be a Nebraska fan, I'll tell you that. And if you're just tuned into Nebraska football, you're lucky, because these last few years, it didn't look like that, right? The offense wasn't fun. The offense was really slow. It was like a ground and pound offense last season. Before that, it was hampered with injuries, and you had quarterbacks who'd come in, but they couldn't match up with their receivers. Like Shelby Purdy came in, and he couldn't deliver the ball to guys like Trey Palmer. So, yeah, it's just nice to see something different. Anyway, Ardwin, thank you for the $2 super chat. Thank you for being a member of our channel. Let's see here. It looks like Corn Nation gifted 50 Corn Craze memberships. We appreciate you for bringing so many people into the Corn Craze army. You're always supporting the channel. I appreciate you a ton. Chase, thank you for being a member for 22 months. He said, good game and plenty of depth in lots of positions. You know, the beauty of today's game, the beauty of most games that teams play when they're outmatching their opponent, right? Like a Nebraska playing against a Utep, a Power 5 playing against a G5, or I think it's called Power 4 now, right? But nonetheless, Nebraska got their depth in with like 4 minutes left in the third quarter. And I think even before that, they started to sub dudes in and pull starters out. We haven't seen that at Nebraska in a long time. And the value there is you get to let guys get some experience. You get to get all of your rotators in, and now guys are going to be more prepared for when the big games come down the road, and they've got to sub in. Right? Ramir Stewart had an interception towards the end of the game. How much confidence do you think that gives him going forward? Imagine he's playing against Colorado next week. They got to play him in an important or crucial point of the game. And now he's a little jittery. He's got butterflies. Well, he's already got an interception in Memorial Stadium. He's already heard the cheers. He's felt the pressure, and he made the play, right? So moments like that are huge, and it builds up this team like you wouldn't believe. Doug, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, this win was a great birthday present to me. Go Big Red. I share my birthday with IGC. I didn't realize it was IGC's birthday. Speaking of, happy birthday, first off, Doug, sorry. IGC had some good punt returns today. I think that I saw a stat saying that Nebraska had more punt return yards today than their average all of last season. So that was impressive. The special teams obviously improving. I'm going to have more of a breakdown this week where I actually analyze what happened, because this is just an instant reaction to what went down. I've got to really get into some things and give you kind of my 7 key takeaways or whatever I'm going to give you. But yeah, it's exciting. Again, Doug, happy birthday. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate the support. Evan says, Corn Craze community is so awesome. So happy to see some major positivity and hope. It's about damn time we have hope, because it's been a long time coming. It's been a long time hearing outside noise. It's been a long time hearing internal noise. You know, there's a lot of negative Nebraska fans. There's a lot of down, bad energy that tries to, become a virus, become a cancer to our community and really tell us, you guys are all wrong. Matt Rule's not the answer. Or they're not going to figure things out. Oh, you think Dylan's going to be as good as or as good as people claim he is. But in reality, we've seen what happens to Nebraska. They poison all their players, all the nonsense. Don't get too excited. It's just UTEP. Obviously, one game doesn't mean this team's going to be doing this all season, right? But there was a lot of reason to believe after what we watched today. Smoking Cactus, thank you for becoming a part of the Corn Craze army. I appreciate you. Let me get through some more of these. I'm glad to have an active chat again, guys. I'm glad to have live streams popping off again. Live streams are my favorite part of managing this channel. I get to talk to so many other Nebraska fans because, as you know, I'm in California. There are not, maybe there's like 5 or 6 people I know who follow Nebraska football because I do. But outside of that, there's not a lot of Nebraska fans. Nobody, thank you for the $5 super chat. Thank you for being a member. He says their kick return and punt return game looks dangerous. Man, Ja'Cory Barney, that dude is fast. He's slim. He's a small dude. Looks like he needs some time to grow. But he's quick, and he had a touch pass? I think he had a little jet sweep touch pass. He caught it, went for like 15 yards or something, 10 yards at least. It was a first down, and he was good in the return game. So, yes, return game is going to get better as we go on, but that was an exciting, positive takeaway. Ardwin, thank you for the $5, and thank you for being a member. He says he'll be 27 in December, and we haven't had a winning season since he was a senior in high school. Needless to say, I'm excited. I think that's everyone's takeaway at this point, right? It feels like, wow, there's a reason to believe. There's a reason to get behind this team. There's a reason to think they're going to win next week against Colorado. Let me freaking tell you. Mr. ZZY, Jim, I think Jim. He sent me $10.10. He says 1-0 for the first time this year. Naor is a smooth beast. I think Dowdell will be the bell cow this season, and it's hard for me to disagree with that. Now, I'm wondering what the reaction is going to be in the running back room to him losing a fumble, right? You lose a fumble and you get punished, as we saw last year with Anthony Grant. He lost multiple. But does Dowdell clean that up and get the start in other games? I don't know. It looked like we have a lot of capable backs. I'm sure Gabe Ervin has the potential to be the bell cow as well. But it is nice to see they've got diversity in that room. Thank you, Jim, for the $10.10. Your super chats are always appreciated. I know you love supporting the channel, and I always try and respond to your comments. Rod, thank you for the $20. He said, I almost felt like they were throttling Dylan down. Seen a bunch of receivers open deep. Okay. So early in the game, I got a text from one of our subscribers. And he was listening to the game on the radio. He's a farmer, so he's out there working. But he told me, or he asked me some questions, and he was saying, what's up with the play calling? What's up with the run game? I don't mind all this running. And I was like, I actually have an issue with the running right now. They're running it too often. And then on fourth down, they're throwing. Why don't we just mix it up a little bit? Instead of running for 2 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, and then having to go for it on fourth, how about Nebraska open it up? And I don't know why it felt like they throttled it down for a minute in that moment, but they seemed to open it back up down the road, and Nebraska obviously had some big passes pop off. So yeah, there were some questionable play calls in the middle of the game that I was confused by. And schematically, they made some adjustments. They started letting him loose. And yeah, Dylan looked exceptional. I think he completed 70% of his passes. So Rod, echoing those sentiments, but it looked like they fixed it. David, thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate the support. I'll respond to a comment from you if I see one. Let's see here. Chat's moving fast, guys. I got to scroll. Caleb, thank you for the 20, and thank you for being Corn Craze Army member. He says, the game I was wanting. A little rusty, but Dylan showed he can come back and answer. And that safety on the D. Okay. It was rusty at times, right? You had Malcolm get beat. We talked about that. You had Isaiah Naor drop the touchdown pass. Okay. That one, that hurt my heart. Let me tell you. Naor to the pylon, beat his guy by, it was at least a full yard. He had extended out, and there was no way anyone's getting that. Dylan put it in the perfect spot, went right through his arms. Keep in mind, those aren't easy to catch, but Naor is an NFL receiver, in my opinion. Watching him today, that dude went for, let me check, Isaiah Naor, 6 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown. Should have been 2 touchdowns. Regardless, that one was painful. There were a few execution issues, or errors, I guess we can call it. Ben Scott let his guy get through and smack Dylan early on. Probably good for building his character. Let Dylan get adjusted to college football before next week, but still don't want to see that. So there were a couple plays where you were like, a little rusty, but outside of that, it was I don't want to call it flawless, but it was a pretty game. We'll use the word pretty in this circumstance. The D coming up with that safety was huge though after that fumble, and then turning it around, very exciting. Judy, thank you for being a part of the Corn Craze Army. I always appreciate you. Jeff, thank you for the $10 super chat, and thank you for being a member of the Corn Craze Army. He says, GBR, here's to hopefully a brand new era of Nebraska football. Just get to that bowl game this year and keep it moving. I'm going to be honest with you, Jeff. A bowl game would feel, at a minimum, that would just be like this team underachieved. Just keeping it real. There's a lot of talent out there. This coaching staff is exceptional, and a bowl game would disappoint me. They got to do more than that. 7. That's bare minimum for me at this point. This team looks like the team I thought they were going to. All my videos that I've been doing for the past 4, 5, 6 months, talking about what this team could build into, what it was looking like in the offseason, where they made changes, and how they improved on all those faults from last year. I said this is how they would look. I predicted that this score would be, 37-10? I was off by 6 points. I was pretty spot on with that. Not trying to give myself credit. My point in this is saying this is what we expected. This is what we thought was going to happen. And if we're going to stick to what we thought was going to happen, a bowl game, that's not acceptable. That's the bare minimum. And it's not a fireable offense, obviously, but it's definitely what went wrong, Matt Rule? What went wrong after all that positive you had going on? Hazardous, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says that Banks catch at the end of the half was fire. Okay, how beautiful is it that Nebraska has, number one, they got multiple receivers who are big bodies, who have different skill sets and can be successful. But how nice is it to have 2 receivers who look like legitimate NFL guys who could play next year in the league? Isaiah Nayor, Jamal Banks, both of them 6'3", 6'4", made really good catches, had good plays after the ball, right? Yards after catch. Nayor was crazy. The dude's fast. He's a freak athlete. I mean, look at his calves. His calves have these crazy muscles in them that I haven't even seen on a dude before. Like his legs, he looks like a track runner. So Nebraska has these freak athletes out there who NFL potential. It's so nice to see. It's been a long time. I'm trying to think it was Trey Palmer, but before that, yeah, outside of Trey Palmer, I don't know who the last real true NFL receiver was on the field who you could look to and count on. Now they've got two of them. It's just nice to be a Nebraska fan in 2024, let me tell you. Doug, thank you for the $10 super chat. He says, this was awesome to see that we were able to go into the second and third string. Only thing I would like to see different is different plays. I mean, 3 straight up the middle. I have more faith in our future. And that was my point responding to Rod a couple minutes ago. Why were they just running the ball over and over and over? You've got an exceptional quarterback who was doing great today to not make turnovers. No picks, no fumbles by Dylan. First off, that's what we expected, but it was nice to see him actually accomplish that. The other thing is his pocket presence and his awareness was awesome. That dude's moving around, he's swiveling, then he's scrambling outside the pocket and he's delivering throws on the move. I mean, we all saw it. We all saw when Barstool and everybody else posted the Patrick Mahomes throw. Dude's going to his left. While he's fading to his left, he leans with his right and like fires it off at this funny angle the way Mahomes would, like a baseball throw. Completes it to Nayor over the middle on a crossing route going this way. So you've got quarterback going this way, leading the defense that direction. You got receiver coming this way. It was an NFL play. It's just so nice to see Nebraska's a competent football team. And I'm not saying that they're going to win a championship. I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm not hyping them up too much. It's just nice to see, for a change, that they can play good football, not trash. Half the team's doing good, half the team's slipping up, and the defense has got to carry them. It's just, I love it. Let me see here. Road King says, where was Coleman? I didn't see him. I didn't see him either. I didn't even see him at the end of the game. I don't know if he's injured. I don't remember what they said about Coleman this week. He might have been injured now that I think about it, because they did rotate a lot of guys in the end over there. Doug, it says your comments restricted. I can't open it, but thank you for your 10. Maybe that's the one I already read. I'm not sure. Chat's going fast. I'm trying to get back through all of them. Okay. Did you ever look up this is a comment from last night we were talking about. Did you ever look up my Uncle Mark? Also, I was excited. Also, it was exciting. Banks to get, I think you're saying it was exciting to see Banks get more yards. I'm reading this wrong. I'm sorry about that. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I did look up your Uncle Mark last night. I didn't find any pictures, but I was reading about him. So thank you for sharing that bit of information with me. 1980s. It's a long time ago, so I'm still learning about the 1980s Nebraska teams. I know obviously the main names, but when you get into the depth, I don't have as much knowledge. So thank you for sharing that bit of insight with me. Omaha Gloyd, thank you for the $20 super chat. Love the excitement. Keep it up, Connor. How nice is it that I could be here excited and positive and not just rant and yell and talk shit and be negative? So much better. I'm going to go about my day, and I'm going to watch the rest of the football games tonight. Who plays? Texas A&M plays. I don't know what else. There's a couple other games I want to watch. But I don't have to feel like, there's this damper on Nebraska football's fan base, or my content's not going to be fun to make. Because I started this channel for 2 reasons, right? Number 1 was because I wanted to meet more Nebraska fans who were positive and excited about the team like I am, right? Number 2 was to get excited about the possibility and what's going on with the team in the future and how they can improve. And it feels like over these last couple seasons, I've been able to find other Nebraska fans, yeah, but all my content just feels so down in the gutter. It's like everything I talk about is like, woe is us, and when's it going to get better, and the what ifs. Finally, we know what if. It's nice. G2 Performance, thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate the support. Caleb, thank you for the $50 super chat. Thank you for being a Corn Craze Army member. I appreciate you a ton. He says, you work too hard. Get you some good Runza next week. I will be eating Runza next week once I come into town. He says, I'm telling you, Colorado isn't going to know what to do. We are balanced. I haven't seen us balanced like this since 2013, but we have a better QB. All right, so Colorado is going to get a smack in the mouth from this offense. No question. I think this is a game where you take the over, right? But Colorado's offense, Nebraska's D better get ready, because what we saw today was that good receivers and good plays by the quarterback can exploit the secondary just like we saw Shador do last season at some points. So Nebraska's got to get pressure. The secondary's got to come to play. But I do think that's going to be a battle Nebraska will win. It's going to be a tight one. I'm telling you, Colorado's going to come in fiery with a lot of energy. It's a rivalry game. I'm pumped for it. Caleb, I hope you're going to be there too. It's going to be an exciting time. G2, thank you for becoming a member of the Corn Craze Army. I appreciate you. Let me see here. Heroes, thank you for the $2. He says it's a great time to have the recruits visit. Great time. Fans are pumped up. You're coming off a win. Okay, today I was watching this on TV, obviously. While I'm watching on TV, the announcers, like Brock Heward, is talking about how important the fans were to this game. You see the guys on the sideline. They're holding their helmets because, what is that called? Whatever the in-ear audio thing is, the communication. They're holding it so they can hear that, right? And they had to do that because it was so loud. They're playing it's a FBS team, but it's a group of 4 team, group of 5 team. Imagine what happens, and that was a daytime game. Imagine what happens at night against Colorado. It's going to be a riot in there. It's going to be like 2021 Michigan vibes. That game was insane. I didn't get to be at that one, but I do remember seeing fan videos. I remember seeing it on TV. It was awesome. It was a spectacle, and we're going to see that kind of environment and recreation of energy. Colorado, better get ready. It's going to be fun, and the recruits are going to have a great time. Great time for a recruit to visit. AZ, thank you for the $10 super chat. Oh, I met you at the Suns game. I can't remember your name off the top of my head, but I can tell by your picture. You came up to me at the Suns game, and you told me you subscribed to my channel. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I don't know why I can't remember your name. I appreciate you. Joel, thank you for the $20 super chat. Thank you for being a Corn Craze Army member. You had a comment right here. What was I going to see? He says, balanced attack and super D, such a step up. Nebraska being balanced and having production on both sides of the ball is what leads to winning games. It's what leads to actually being a championship contender, a Big Ten championship contender specifically, right? I don't know about the playoff, but I do know they will compete for the Big Ten to some degree. Not saying they can win it. Let's not get too excited yet. But last year, they had one side of the ball carrying them, and the other side was just limping in. I saw all the stats pop up on the TV today, all the averages. Last year, their yard averages in for an entire game was what they did in the first half on offense in this first game with Dylan. And it's like, wow, Nebraska has a real passing game to match that defense, so it's very exciting. Smoking Cactus, you said I missed your super chat. Hold up, let me see. I saw you pop one up. There it is. All right, we got a couple. Smoking Cactus, thank you for the $2. He says, how about Mahomes calling out Dylan on X? I didn't see that one. I'm sure he said something about his cousin like he did the first time, but that's legit. It's just more national hype. People are tapped into Nebraska football right now. You got Will Compton going to bat for them every freaking day, and he's got a big platform. Now you got Dylan who comes in. Everybody's paying attention to him since he's a 5-star quarterback. He was committed to 2 big schools at one point, and now obviously he has a relationship with some of the biggest names in sports, guys like Pat Mahomes, because those guys attract other elite players. So it's exciting to see that he's getting Nebraska a bunch of recognition. Husker Nation, thank you for the $5 super chat. Thank you for being a member of the Corn Craze Army. He says, what about Banks with that last catch of the second quarter? I think I touched on this one. He had that catch in the end zone. Man, Dylan finding him. There were 2 dudes on him. One was probably 3 yards away, but he was still in position. The other was, draped. The placement of that ball was NFL-like. This is a true freshman quarterback in his first ever game. I don't care who the opponent was. That receiver was defended by a safety, and he found the one spot you could put it for him to make the play. Shout out Banks, shout out Dylan, shout out the line for giving them the time. And I know we don't like to give him credit, but shout out Satterfield for the play call. Shout out Satterfield for putting together an offensive scheme and for putting together a game plan that got Nebraska 40 points on the board today. No one likes to give Satterfield credit. Everybody likes to bash on him and say how Nebraska's inept because of him and he's holding the team back. But that's nonsense. I said last year, it's not that Satterfield's a bad coach. It's that he was put into a bad situation. And now with a better situation, we can actually judge him for what we see. After game 1, he gets an A. How will it play out in the future? I don't know. I'm not making a prediction on it. Just saying, shout out Satterfield, shout out the entire offense, man. It's so exciting. How much better is it to hear me talk in a positive tone? Okay, back to supers. Uh, I love that the chat's so active. I love that you guys go so hard and you guys have so many thoughts in the game just like I do. It gives me a lot to respond to. And it gives me a lot of ideas for content to make, let me tell you. Caleb, thank you for the $10 super chat. He says he will not be there, but you want some good buffalo burgers the night before? Hit me up. Okay, Caleb, I'll message you. I love buffalo burgers. David, thank you for the $10. He says the D swarmed the ball all the way to the end, constantly in the backfield before the QB could even react. How was that? Okay, you have Jamari Butler, Nash Hutmaker, Ty Robinson, and then MJ Sherman. That's just the main four you start with. MJ was in the dude's face on multiple plays. Nash in the backfield. Ty in the backfield had a great play. I mean, he was unblocked on his big sack. He came through flying. No one even touched him. I was confused about that. I think it was a play action, if I'm not mistaken. But then the most important play on the goal line, controversial take. I don't know if it was a safety or not. It was tight. If I was a Utep fan, I probably would have been pissed off. I'll be honest with you. Regardless, scoreboard. But it was awesome to see Nash blow through there. Was it Jamari? I can't remember who was in on the safety. It was Nash, Ty. Ty was the first one back there who tried to pull him down. Nash was the main source who really got the sack or the safety. It was a run play. So Ty got the quarterback. Nash got the running back. I can't remember if it was Jamari. Regardless, that front is nasty. It's what we expected. The linebackers, we saw a lot of linebackers rotate. So you had Prince Will in there. You had Shavers at the end. You had Umamielin. Who else? Stephon Thompson. Obviously Bullock. There were a lot of linebackers who played, and I didn't see any weaknesses. I saw them all flying around. So secondary, they had their moments. Sayer Wright fell down to the ground at one point towards the end. You can nitpick, but overall, all three levels played pretty damn well. You got to play well to hold a team to 7 points, no matter who that team is. Road King Thor, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, born and raised 10 minutes from Boulder. Boulder's a nice place. I went last year and I loved it there. But a Husker fan for 20 years. Blame my mother. Nash and Ty are going to destroy Shador. Go Big Red. I can't disagree with you. Last year, they did destroy Shador. They had like 8 sacks on him, right? Shador is a magician. He's like Harry Houdini, figures out ways to get things done anyway. He's an NFL-level quarterback. He's a talent similar to Dylan Raiola. So he's going to find ways to make plays. I can promise you that. I'm not getting too excited and saying Nebraska's going to shut him down or anything like that, but I do think they're going to get to him. I just think Shador is... He's a really good player. He's elusive, and he finds ways to make plays, even when, he's got no offensive line to help him out, and Nebraska's going to come at him with one of the top defensive fronts in all of college football, in my opinion. When I say one of the top, let's not get too excited. We'll say top 25, top 15, but not like top 5, top 3. They're not Georgia yet, but still exciting. G2, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, it's so nice to win this game with no drama, Connor. I'm going to the USC game. Hope to see you there, GBR. I will be at the USC game. I will be available to meet up with some of you because I'll be there all day wandering around with my whole family. So, yep, hit me up around then, and we'll see if we can connect. Husker Fever, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, GBR, Dylan is the real deal. Got my groomsmen for my Foz wedding here, listening GBR. I don't know what your Foz wedding is, but some wedding, and you're listening in after a wedding, apparently. So, congrats to whoever's getting married. I guess because if you got groomsmen, you're the one who got married. Crazy that you got married on the Nebraska football game day, but I guess that was good luck to help Nebraska win. I hope you got to watch the game. I'm glad you tapped in to celebrate with all of us at the end, but that's exciting if you got married. So thank you for the $5 super chat, and I appreciate you for tapping in and celebrating with us, even though you're busy today. Let's see. Troy, welcome to the Corn Craze Army. I appreciate the support. You got your little corn next to you so I can see you when you comment on my regular videos. Anybody who's got a corn next to their name, when you become part of the Corn Craze Army, I try my best to respond to all those comments first in my regular video comment section because it's hard to respond to every comment. Now I'm getting a lot of them. And there's a lot of debates and back and forth, especially with new fan bases coming in. So anytime I see one of those corn emojis, I try to respond to your comments first. So thank you for becoming a member. My Lee, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you for being a member. Have a drink on me, Connor. This live is the vibe we've been craving for too long, GBR. Well, I appreciate you. I'll use that $10 for a drink tomorrow. I'm going to the USC game against LSU. Going to have my first game in Allegiant Stadium with my dad, his friend, my best friend Jacob. It's going to be a great time, so I'll use that $10 there. But yeah, this vibe and this type of live is what we've needed for a long time. It's been maybe 2 years of me doing these IG or these YouTube live reactions to games. I'm telling you, almost all of them were Debbie Downers. There were a couple wins, you know what I mean, that were exciting, but nothing that got you amped up for the future. Nothing that made you look at the season and be like, whoa, we've got the whole world ahead of us. We got everything still available to us. This is something that's new to me, obviously new to you guys as Nebraska fans over the last 5 years, and it's starting to feel like that old, I don't want to call it any energy similar to any other coaching staff, but I'm optimistic like the days of the Bo Pelini era, right? I believe. It's nice to believe. Nicholas, thank you for the $5 super chat. Connor, boy, it's great to have football season back. Do we have a QB or what? Say hi to my neighbor Sam, trying to convert him. He's an Ohio State fan. Sam, listen, you can always have two favorite teams. It's nice to have Ohio State in your back pocket, but you know, jump on the Nebraska bandwagon while the stock's not even hot yet. I mean, as Nebraska fans, we know the stock's hot. We're all buying in. But nationally, people aren't as committed. They're like afraid. They think, oh no, I've seen Nebraska and I've seen this story before. They're not that good. They're going to stumble. Things are going to happen. Matt Rule, you know, whatever they want to say. I hear all kinds of nonsense. This is the time when you can jump in and say, I knew. Nicholas told me to jump on the Nebraska bandwagon, and I was watching. Connor told me, actually, to jump on the bandwagon and get the stock while it was low. You can get it for $1 today, but I promise you, after Colorado, it'll jump to 10. After Nebraska starts 7-0, it's going to 50, 100. And then come Ohio State week, you already know. It's going to be a freaking battle after what we saw today. I don't know. I don't want to get too excited about that one. We're a long way away from battling with Ohio State, but man, reason to be optimistic. Husker Nation, thank you for the $5 super chat. You're the man. There was more energy in this game than the entire last season. You know what I liked about the energy? It wasn't just Nebraska bringing the energy. I like Scotty Walden. He's on the sideline before the game, or I guess it was in the end zone when he's warming up with his team. He's pushing guys around, jumping up, trying to hype them. You know, he wants to make sure that they're excited. This is a moment where you get to play in Memorial Stadium in front of 87,000 fans or whatever it is. Nebraska's 397th sellout. Crazy. Then he's on the sideline pushing guys around, getting amped up. Both teams were pumped. When you have inspired football, that means that guys are getting better on both sides, right? The Utep guys got better today. I don't care what happens to them, but they did get better today. And the Nebraska guys, most importantly, got to play against a fired up team who wanted to be there, not a team who just laid down. You go back to like Fordham in 2021. Nebraska throttled Fordham, but did they really want to be there? Was there as much energy or positivity? It felt like Utep brought a lot to the table as well. So that made today's game a lot more exciting. It's fun to watch competitive games. I wouldn't call this competitive in terms of score, but it felt like Utep tried the entire time. They never gave up. They fought. They played multiple quarterbacks. Their receivers actually did look really good. I did warn you about those receivers and said they could get over the top, which they did. But yeah, it's nice to see positive energy on all fronts. Scott's Tots, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, that coach was obnoxious. PJ Fleck vibes. I would have liked to see Dylan hang 60 on him. Props to Rule for keeping it classy. If Rule left Dylan in and they just played the Stars all the way through, Nebraska would have won 63-7. No doubt. But it was so much better to watch Nebraska get that depth in. So I actually appreciate watching the depth and not seeing Nebraska just run up the score. And I appreciate that Nebraska made it out healthy today. Think about that. Take that into consideration, right? There are a lot of teams who lost players this weekend. There are a lot of teams who've lost players over the last month of fall camp, you know, injuries. And Nebraska not having any, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I haven't listened to the press conference yet, and we won't get an injury report until Monday or whatever. But knowing that they didn't have anything severe or anything we witnessed makes you feel a lot better. It's like, wow, they got to rest guys. They got to play multiple, and nobody's going to be too beat up. I mean, I look at the stat line again today. Here, let's go over here. You had a diverse ball carrier room, 47 total touches, but no one had more than 11. That keeps these guys healthy and fresh for the entire season. Look at the receiver room. Look how many guys got touches out of the 25 catches. It went between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 guys, 25 catches. It's freaking awesome. Really quick note on the receivers. Was anyone else surprised by Fedoni only getting 3 touches and having 1 yard? All 3 of his routes that he caught balls on, at least, were, I guess they were either really shallow or behind the line of scrimmage, almost like to get him in motion so that he could catch the ball and then run up like a screen, like he had momentum. None of them worked. And I was actually surprised that Fedoni wasn't more of a factor in this game. None of the tight ends really were until you got into the depth. And Luke Lindemeyer had a catch. Who else? I think Carter Nelson did, but I don't know if he was playing tight end as much. He might have been lined up on the line a couple times. Nelson did look good though. That's another name to point out. Carter Nelson, man, first game action. He had 3 catches for 21 yards. It's exciting, man. Judy, thank you for this $2 super chat. Thank you for being a member. She said they'll smell bull dung from the field in Boulder. Judy, I think you're probably right. And I hope this week that team in Boulder is sweating a little bit. I hope they feel the pressure. I hope they know this Nebraska team's not that same Nebraska team they played last year. I want them to come out and I want them to put up a fight because, rivalries are more fun when it's competitive. And it's more fun when Nebraska beats them because we get to actually get that revenge we've all been looking for 12 months now? It's going to be an exciting week, Judy. Gage, thank you for the $5 super chat. This is the best team we've seen since Taylor Martinez and Sue. A bowl game is a low goal. We should be thinking college football playoff. Dylan is insane. Gage, I can't be drinking that type of Kool-Aid with you. That's a lot. You're chugging at this point. But I do think Dylan is legit. I do think this team has, a 10-win ceiling. I think I said 10-win ceiling in my record prediction video. I'm going to stick with that. You could even go as far as saying 11-win ceiling, I guess. Every game on the schedule is winnable if you take out Ohio State. But even that, if this team's only going to get better, because think about that. This is game 1. It's only going to climb up and get better from here. How good can they be? These receivers look good today. Ardwin, thank you for being a member for 23 months. You said you've been off for 1 month out of 2 years. That means you must have changed credit cards or something. Well, thank you for being a supporter for that long. Tackling was extremely impressive. I'm sorry, I'm trying to click certain comments. My chat's just moving so fast. Okay, Logan. Tackling was extremely impressive today. Okay, that was one of the biggest notes that I made on my phone that I wanted to talk about. There were issues in the secondary at times. The defensive line, they always got pressure, it felt like, but they weren't getting in there as often as possible. At times, most of the time they did, but at times I'm trying to look for a fault, right? Look for any issues because there was one area where they never screwed up. The secondary was an A-, let's say. The defensive line was an A-, but the tackling was an A+ the entire way through. I don't know if I saw any missed tackles. I'm sure there were missed tackles, but I don't remember seeing any. Dudes swarmed to the ball. When the linebacker would hit, the DB would be there right after. If the lineman would get him, the linebacker would come and smack him right after. The swarm is what makes sure that you don't have any breakaway plays. You might have an explosive play because the receiver gets hit downfield. But if you can swarm to the ball and bring them down, you're not going to have any, 21, 24-point outings against you because the D is always on top of it. They always get there. That was a positive to me. So shout out to the tackling. It was very impressive. I agree, Logan. Heroes, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, with how OSU played today, it could be in play. I didn't watch that game. Obviously, I was focused on Nebraska. I watched Vanderbilt. That was an awesome game. I didn't watch any Miami or Florida. I watched a little Iowa, but I watched the Iowa game before they turned it on and scored like 30 points. I think they scored 40, actually. I was watching when Cade McNamara didn't look all that good. But yeah, it's nice. Richard, thank you for the $10 super chat. What are your thoughts on Fedoni on those screen passes? Just wasn't the quickest tight end. Yeah, I don't understand, really. I thought that Fedoni, before this game, I thought he was more of a downfield threat. He's a bigger body. But now you've got Banks and Naor who are the bigger bodies, right? And so he was a weapon last year because there weren't other guys who matched what he looked like. And he was a useful tool when you got into the red zone because he was a bigger guy. Now they've got those tools. So where does he fit? What's his role going to be? And I think today, that's my biggest question mark. How does Fedoni factor in? I'm sure they're going to find a way, but the screenplays probably aren't the best. Like you said, he's not the quickest tight end. It doesn't feel like he should be running little screens. But who knows? The offensive coordinators will figure it out. Dominique, thank you for the $2 super chat. Thank you for being a member. He says Nebraska actually looked good today. Colorado better watch out. Honestly, every team better watch out. It's not just Colorado. Every team is on notice. Nebraska looked exceptional compared to what people set the bar at. This looked like a 8, potentially a 9-win team. Right now, they're supposed to be a 7-win team. So, yeah, I think they looked better than what people thought they were going to look like. Again, it's just Utep. I don't want to get too excited or over enthused, but the main piece was the offense. The main piece was, did they correct their issues? And they did. They correct all the issues that we had hoped they would. Husker Nation, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, I saw the no huddle struggle. Thoughts? I have no take on that right now. I don't know. Don't have any thoughts. Gonna have to go back and watch some things. There was a lot I was trying to process during this game, and that wasn't something I was thinking about. But I did see what you're talking about. Ben Not Benny, thank you for the $2 super chat. Love that the offense got to stay vanilla versus a G5. Yeah, it felt like they were a little too vanilla at times because I felt like, Rule said we were going to let Dylan do his thing, and then they just ran the ball over and over and over and over. Love the run game. Love that they can do it, but I wanted to make sure that they're giving Dylan the reps and letting these receivers get comfortable out there. So they eventually did it. It was I don't know what the split was. 25 carries, 47 carries, 36 passes. So a little bit more run heavy, but that was because they dominated, right? Before that, I don't know what the split was. Was it 50-50 going to the half? Something like that. Regardless. Not too vanilla. I was happy with it. C1R says Travis Hunter is streaming right now. Now starts this week of Colorado hate and of rivalry trash talk. And it's going to be really fun to see what different players have to say and what the coaches say about each other. Last Wednesday or Tuesday, I saw the Scotty Walden interview, and he was so complimentary of Nebraska's program and of Matt Rule. And you just wonder what Deion Sanders is going to say this week. And you wonder what the Colorado players are going to say this week about Nebraska's defense. Is it going to be like, we handled them last year, so we're not worried about it? Or is it going to be a respect? And I would hope Nebraska has a respect for Colorado. Although I don't think Colorado's, the best team they're going to play this year. I still think that's a team you got to respect. So it's going to be interesting. Matt Rule, we already know what he's going to say. He's going to be complimentary and talk about all their positives. But how will the Colorado players perceive Nebraska, and how will Deion? That's a question I'm interested to find out. EK, thank you for becoming a part of the Corn Craze Army. We appreciate you here. Dre, thank you for the $10 super chat. He says, do you think Colorado is going to go after Hartzog? He looked rough at times aside from the pick. There was a time when Marquise Buford looked rough, right? Everybody's going to have their moments. I mean, and I say that because Marquise then came back and had a great one-on-one spot with a receiver, and he batted the ball away. I don't even know if the dude had a full hand on the ball, but regardless, he got the guy's arm down and made sure there was no catch possible. And I bring up Marquise because I think he slipped on a play. Something happened. My point is, we're not questioning Marquise, right? So why would we question Hartzog? It was one play. He was in the dude's face, and he just got beat. But he came back. He had an interception underneath. Nebraska won the turnover battle today. I don't know that I'm concerned about any specific corner, safety, receiver matchups with Colorado and Nebraska. I will say in general, I am concerned about what the scheme's going to be and how they're going to stop that passing game. They have so many exceptional receivers, so many fast guys who can make plays in space. We talked about just a minute ago how impressive Nebraska's tackling is going to be, or was, and we're hoping that it's going to be equally as impressive this next week. Because if Nebraska doesn't tackle well, Colorado's going to have some big plays coming. Last year, we saw Travis Hunter have a play over the middle. Caught it, and he spun out of like two dudes trying to tackle him, and I don't know how long the play was. Say it was 20 yards. But that's the concern when you play teams with the athletic ability that Colorado has and their receivers bring to the table. So I'm not concerned for any secondary player, but I am concerned as a whole, I just think, I think it's hard to look at Hartzog and be like, oh, well, he's not good or he's the liability. I don't think that's true. Collector, thank you for being a member for 11 months. He says holding plays back for Colorado. Lloyd perhaps. I wouldn't be surprised if they held some stuff back for Colorado. They're not going to show their entire card, right? They're going to make sure that they've got some things they can mix in because this was a game they were going to win either way. It was just how much were they going to win by. By the way, good teams win, great teams cover. Nebraska covered today. That's makings of a great team. What was the thing that you said? Oh, Lloyd. That was what I wanted to comment on. So at first, I was surprised that Lloyd wasn't playing as much. Then with Naor, I realized, well, Naor and Banks, they're two dynamic receivers who have skill sets that, like I said, are NFL level. And when you have the speed that Naor does, plus he has the catching ability, plus he has the size, plus he has the experience, I don't want to say you don't need Lloyd, but his value isn't as high because you already have a guy who's kind of playing his role and who can do more because he's a bigger body, right? So I was surprised that Lloyd wasn't out there as much, but he's still an underclassman. He's a sophomore, right? Last year he was a true freshman. I think the biggest takeaway here is that the receivers Nebraska does have now in position are so damn good. Way better than I thought they would be. I did not have the expectations for Naor and for Banks going into this game that I think they deserved. And going forward, I think they're both going to be huge players for Dylan. And I made a tweet during the game. Isaiah Naor is the NFL receiver that Dylan needs. And I was talking to someone about this over text, one of my friends who was watching the game. And his point was, Nebraska will be really good once they get NFL receivers in to work with Dylan. And about halfway through this game, you realized, well, no, they already have them. They're already ready to go and they're in position. Now it's just on Dylan to get the ball to him. So it's pretty exciting. A lot of comments about liking that Rule played a lot of his second and third team. I've seen some comments about Coleman being injured. I can't remember what happened with Coleman. I'm sorry, I don't have any info on that. But I'm assuming there was some reason he wasn't playing. Let's see. Carter Nelson would be much better for those passes they did to Fedoni. I agree with that. I think Carter Nelson possesses a different skill set. He did look a lot more like a receiver than a tight end. Carter Nelson's fast, and it showed today. He's got a different body type. Fedoni, I was watching the game with my mom today. She said he looks clunky. I'm like, well, that's a tight end because she thought he's a receiver. I said, that's a tight end. He's built to be clunky. He's built to block guys. He's built to be the big body and box guys out, catch the ball. And he's a possession guy. He's not a yards after catch guy, right? So it was surprising to see the possession guy running screen plays. Again, don't know what his future holds. Don't know how they're going to use him. He's a solid player, but I think to make him a key part of this offense, you're going to have to find ways to get him the ball, and I just don't know what that's going to be. I'm not worried about it again. It's just, just a thought. The Carter versus Thomas Fedoni debate, though, I don't think it's much of a debate since they, in my opinion, play different positions and have different roles. There you go. Coleman has a groin injury and wasn't 100% yet. That answers our question. Barrett says, I almost cried when Dylan came out for the tunnel walk. Big win. Keep it rolling. Watching Dylan come out, it looked like he had command of this team. It looked like it was his new era he was kicking off. He looked locked in. He was focused. I was like, man, this guy's going to come out and do what we all expect him to, and then he did. And I think that's my biggest takeaway. Nebraska now has the quarterback that we hoped they would. Nebraska now has the leadership on the offense that they needed last year that really held them back from getting to a bowl game. And pairing that with a defense that's so exceptional and a staff that's proving to be what they're being paid, or proven to be worth what they're being paid, this is how things should look, and this is how things are going to come together. So it's exciting to be a Nebraska fan. I've been on here for an hour. I've got to get ready to go to the airport in 15 minutes here because I'm going to the USC game tomorrow. I will be back on Monday, and I will be making plenty of content for the Colorado game. I've got my game preview. Hopefully I'll do a video giving you my thoughts on this, my kind of breakdown of like the 7 things we learned or whatever. I've got the video with David Talks Buffs to break down Colorado, and then we'll have my night before I head out to Lincoln live stream and give you my final predictions. One last comment. Husker Fever, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, it isn't the wedding, just the groom's in here for a party. I'll DM you the location for the tailgate, albeit for the Colorado game, GBR. I like it. DM me. Hopefully I'll see a bunch of you soon. Next week, actually, 8 days from now. I'll see a bunch of you in the next week, and I can't wait for the rest of the season. So until next time, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.